Hello and welcome. In this demonstration I'm going to show you how you can actually improve the performance of your Windows. Now the first thing that you want to do is you want to first establish what specification you currently have in regards to hardware inside of your computer or maybe your laptop. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to just hit the start button on your desktop and you want to head over to the control panel. Once you're in the control panel, you're going to be able to find another option called system. Okay, so once you actually go into the system, this will basically allow you to view information about your computer, and also if you wish you can change some settings if necessary. But for the moment what we're going to do, we're going to go in there just to show you what you can do here to find out the specification of your hardware. Now here in my laptop that I'm using, it's a Lenovo ThinkPad. It's currently running a Intel Core i5 CPU. Okay, so it's reasonably spec'd, and it definitely does do the job with regards to, you know, doing your day-to-day work on it, and in some cases it even runs games sufficiently well. Now the actual RAM that you have installed is very much gonna make the difference on the performance. Many people don't realize this. You know, they assume that it's because of some viruses or the software's gone slow. Because of that reason, you know, the computer overall is slow. But one of two factors is the memory, and obviously the CPU needs to be of a higher spec. Now in today's times, people are selling hardware which seems to be a lot cheaper than other PC builds or laptops. There is a reason, because those processors and memory is designed for a certain purpose. So if you're going to be just surfing the internet, you'll have a certain amount of specification, whereas if you're someone that's going to be doing some gaming, you're definitely going to need some more processing, and you know, you'll have to have enough RAM to accommodate that. Okay, so while we're still in the control panel, having had a look at our system, we're now going to go into a option here which will definitely help us. Okay, so what we can do in the search box here is we can type in the word troubleshooting, or we can just type in the word TR, and it will basically bring up an option called troubleshooting. Now we can go ahead and click on this troubleshooting, and this will now allow us to check any kind of issues that we may have with all different aspects of our computer. So this could be programs, this could be hardware, you know, network, internet, appearance, personalization, system and security. Now what we're going to focus our attention on is system and security. So once you click on system and security, what will now happen is you'll be given a choice with regards to system maintenance. This will basically, first of all, this will definitely help you clear up any junk that you have in your system. We'll also have an option to adjust the settings to improve the overall speed and performance. Okay, so once again, when you have a pre-installed system, the way that the operating system is set, it's giving you the best resolution, it's giving you the best, you know, the best performance as far as it's concerned. But in reality, it doesn't always work out like that. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you about the way that the efficiency of a system is being set up is designed to save battery power. And if it is a laptop, in my example, you know, it's like the same as the cars these days we drive. You know, a car is gonna give you an eco mode, so that when it gets to the end of the street it's gonna stop, and then it's gonna start up again. So it's the stop start technology example. So in your Windows, or in your Windows kind of scenario, the laptop will also shut down to conserve any power and battery, and you know, it will turn off and go to sleep. So I'll explain that to you a bit later on. So we've got the power, which I've just mentioned, is something that we also have. We also have search and indexing and the Windows Update. So let's take a look at the system maintenance. Once we click on the system maintenance, you will basically get a pop-up box that will come up. So here it will say clean up any unused files and shortcuts and perform other maintenance. So this is one of the first things that you can try doing, and then you can click on next. What it's going to do now is going to detect any issues that you may have. Okay, so as soon as it finds something, it will basically say try running the troubleshooter as an administrator. Okay, this can happen if you do not have the privileges. Okay, if it comes up with that message, just go ahead and just say, yeah, run as admin. Okay. So once you've done that, it will basically give you a status to say that, troubleshooting is completed, no changes or updates were necessary, so you can close it. So that's a good sign. Okay, that means it hasn't got any kind of unused files or shortcuts that is found. Now, with regards to the performance, we can do exactly the same thing. Now, under this, we will be now able to click on next, and now it's going to detect some problems, if we have any, with regards to the performance. Now, it's already found a couple of issues. So it's saying Superfetch is not running. Several programs are running at startup. Now, this is a preference that I have, that I want to launch a number of programs at the beginning. You may also install programs which you may be unaware will load automatically. Now here we've got to really determine which programs do we really want running while we boot up, or do we want to be in control of those programs. So this is basically what it's suggesting here that we need to think about. Okay, so there's another program it's looking for, or another feature that it's looking for, that needs to be running, but again, it doesn't impact my system. So this is what's the opinion of the performance. So I can click on try to repair these, and once I do that, it will then basically detect and resolve the problem. So there's a Superfetch it complained about, so it's trying to enable that back up. It says, which of the following programs do you want to prevent from running from startup? So again, nowadays, because we use programs such as OneDrive, you may use Google Drive to upload your material. These kind of technologies that we have in place definitely make it easy for us to put stuff in the cloud, rather than having to worry about memory sticks and USB pen drives or external hard drives. But the consequence of running this at the beginning and have it constantly running inside your system, it will definitely affect the performance. So you can decide whether you want to run that yourself, because let's face it, how often are you going to back up your system every day? You're going to want to maybe transfer those files once you know which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to disregard. So here you can basically, for example, deselect the OneDrive, you can deselect the OneNote. Again, is another application which may take up some space. Again, with the Microsoft Office, you can decide whether you want that running in the background before you launch the applications. But in this example, I'll just to show you, I'll just disable these two. Now, also what it will say to you is which program do you want to prevent from running from startup. Now here your list will grow. Okay, so here's some applications that I've got. Now I did say before that I've got a lot of applications that I do purposely want to run. Now maybe this one at the bottom, I don't really use that often, but when I'm loading and logging into the Windows, it's definitely taking up a lot of space. So I can go ahead and click on that one, and I can now try to let the system finish off. So it obviously made a big suggestion of things that I need to do. I only done what I wanted to do, so that's why it still says certain things were not fixed. It's fixed obviously the Superfetch, which was not running, and as far as it's concerned, that part is done. Okay. Now the other thing I want to show you is the power. Okay, so when we go to the power options, now again, if you're using, whether you're using a laptop or whether you're using a desktop machine, a lot of people will not realize that their system is going to be running at the best efficiency, but that definitely has an impact on your performance. So now if we click on next, again, it's going to detect some issues. This normally will go through and give us a result fairly quickly. So here it says time before the hard drive goes to sleep is too long. Time before the display goes to sleep is too long. The time before the computer goes to sleep is too long. It's just trying to go through and fix these issues. Display brightness is setting too high. So again, this is what I explained to you, that this is going to be running off the back of high efficiency. But this will have a impact on your performance, which I'll explain in a moment. Okay, once I take you into the power options. But for now, we'll go ahead and let that do what it needs to do. Now, another feature we have in Windows, everything that you create as folders, files, gets indexed. Information that you want to find later on in the line will definitely be something that you will basically benefit from it having an index done to it, because then you can find it quicker. But again, this will take up, this could take up some resources. So what problems do you notice? So for example, files do not appear in search results, email doesn't appear in search. If this feature is turned off for some reason, then it will complain. But performance wise, if you disable the indexing, if you're not too concerned about searching stuff from the search boxes or searching emails within a email system, then it doesn't really matter. But if you want to make changes, you can basically go ahead and pick that here. Okay, so I just picked one option, and it will go through again the troubleshooter to help you fix that issue. Okay, so once again, you can do this if you wish, but in this occasion we can cancel that one because it's not really that much of an issue. Finally, we've got the Windows Update. Now the Windows Update itself will allow us to update all of the latest security bulletins, the patching. I would highly recommend that you set this up and you run this whenever periodically Microsoft release these. Again, you need the internet to do that. Again, it does slow down when you're doing your work while it's updating, so definitely pick a time when you're not going to be using your machine. But the updates are very important. Many of us will think that the antivirus updates are more important. Of course, the antivirus, the firewall, the protection that you have there is important, but this is definitely going to be equally important. Okay, that you make sure that your system has a health check done to it on a regular basis. Now, if you ever get a message here saying that the online search ran successfully, restart the Windows Update, check for updates. Now, I've actually already updated my system. Okay, so maybe if I go to the Open Windows Update, it will now show me if I need to install them anyway. Okay, now you can see in my screen it shows this up to date because I recently updated them. Okay, so this is something that you want to also do that will help the performance of your system. Okay, so before I mentioned to you about the power options, now you remember seeing the system adjust the power to best suit the way it thinks is best. But let me show you something. If I cancel this and close this for now, okay, we're kind of done with the system security. We don't need to close the entire thing down. We can just use this option here to go back to the control panel. And now what we can do is we can change, if this ever happens to you, you can drop down the category and choose large icons if it's easier for you to see, or you can just choose small icons. Okay, but in any case, you will be able to see more icons than you can do. You can see more icons compared to the way that you see it as category. So now what we'll do, we'll go to the power options. Under the power options, you can see that the plan that I'm currently using is for presentation. So if I'm doing a presentation, it won't turn off my screen, it won't disrupt my presentation when I'm doing it. But you can see below it that there is a high performance setting. Now again, many PC manufacturers, to the point of Windows, will always have this set to the opposite, because again, if it's a laptop, they want to show you the performance of how good the battery lasts and how economical it is. You don't have to keep charging the laptop. But in a PC which is always powered, it really don't matter. And in the same way with the laptop, if you've had it plugged in while you're using it, it really does not matter. So it says clearly here that it favors your performance, but it may use more energy. So you have to compromise to decide whether you want performance versus economy. Now also below, you'll be able to see additional plans that you may be able to select. So you'll have other plans that you can choose. It will probably have it set to like a recommendation to do a balanced one, which will give you a bit of both. You can definitely try this one out initially to see if this accommodates your needs, but if it doesn't, then I would really recommend doing the high performance. So that's another option that you can do to definitely make a difference on the performance. Now once you've checked that, there's something else that I would like to show you, which you can also access from another way you can access it. I just want to show you something different. You can click on the My Computer icon and you can go to Properties. And it will also take you straight into the system option as well. While you're back into the system, you can now click on Advanced System Settings. You can now click on Advanced System Settings. Once we click on that, you will now see a pop-up box to do with the system properties. Inside of the system properties, you will have various tabs such as the hardware, advanced, system protection, and remote if you need somebody to remotely assist you. Now the hardware itself is something that you also want to think about. Have you got the latest device drivers? Because remember, Windows will always try to install drivers for you which are going to be what it thinks are the compatible ones. But the manufacturers will have official written drivers which work best with their hardware. Okay, so always, if you've got a machine that's been freshly rebuilt, always make sure you don't rely on what Windows gives from its hardware compatibility list, but use more your own effort to get that updated. And the Windows update, again, won't update your latest drivers. So again, you want to check the device drivers to see, do you have any problems inside of your system? Is there any exclamation marks? Is there any missing drivers? And again, if you want to improve, let's say for example, your graphics, you can always go and update the driver software from here just to make sure that accommodates any kind of issues that you may have, just as an example with the display there. Of course, you want to make sure you've got a genuine version of Windows. Be careful with the versions that you may have pre-installed, especially if you've bought a second hand or second user computer. Someone may have not used an official version, which in today's modern times will be subject to any kind of risks that you may take when you're doing banking and stuff like that as well. So always make sure you have this in the corner as well, whether it's running Windows 7, Windows 8, or even Windows 10. I'll be doing a video on Windows 10 in due course. There's not a lot of major differences in the way that you're going to do this. Okay, it's just that the web GUI looks a bit different. Okay, but if you've been someone who's been using If you're someone who's been using Windows for a number of years, you'll know that the process that I'm showing you now can be applied on most operating systems. So what we will now do is we'll go to the advanced, and then here you'll have a section called performance. You can go ahead and click on settings. Now once you're in these settings here, you can basically see that the system is set to let the Windows choose what's best for the computer. Again, if this is working for you, that's fine. If it isn't working for you, one of the first things that you can do is you can go ahead and choose adjust for best performance. Now you'll notice it will go ahead and disable a lot of these checkboxes here. If you're concerned about the graphics and you're using it for high graphics and you're really concerned about that, then you can always adjust it for best appearance. But we're talking about improving the performance. We can also we can adjust this to show us more graphical representation of our system if we want to, but to be honest, you won't immediately notice too much difference in the graphics than you are going to be with the performance. That will be noticeable. Okay, so there will be a delay in doing this. The system will go ahead and actually pause. Okay, so for the moment we'll have to just wait for it to get done. So basically, when you set this up for best performance, you will see that the graphical element of the operating system is totally stripped out. Okay, you can see it's all gone to a very basic kind of color scheme. The taskbar has been removed, but all of that will be if you're in a very desperate situation to improve your performance. Okay, because everything that we do now will be drastically speeded up because all the graphical elements have been stripped out. It will work fine. Everything else will operate fine, but the graphical look of it won't be as colorful as you're used to seeing it. If you're overly concerned about that, what you can do, you can just select this option here, which is use visual styles and buttons, and click on apply. Okay, so now what will happen is that you can see that the taskbar at the bottom has now returned to be a bit more colorful. The window has a bit more color in it. So again, the majority of the setting is now currently set to best performance, with the exception of you adding a couple of graphical improvements. Okay, so that's entirely up to you if that's what you want to see. Okay, if you're not concerned about it at all, you can just go ahead and choose best performance. Another thing that we can do is we can access from the run command a tool called msconfig. To access it, you have to click on the Windows key. In the search box, you can just type in run, and then you can go ahead and select the run command. The utility is called msconfig, as I said, so you can type that in here and click on OK. Once you click on msconfig, what it will do, it will bring up a system configuration. Again, this is an option that you can basically select. You can find that it's normally going to be set to normal startup, or you can have it set up to a diagnostics if you're running any problems. And if you want to do a selective one, this is what I've got set because I've customized it. By choosing no GUI boot, this will basically take out any kind of images to do with the Windows to save time for it to start up. So that also helps the actual startup of your system. The timeout time that you have here, you can basically set this as low as possible. It may be set to 30 seconds at the moment, so if you've got more than one operating system installed, which you can have, then again you can speed up the process. My advice to you is to leave this as minimum as possible. Again, if you want to improve the the performance, or how to speed up your computer, or how to speed up your Windows, this is something that will definitely help you out. Now with services as well, what you can do, you can go through and see which services are currently running that you may not use. Okay, so you can hide all the Microsoft ones because they're going to be the ones that you definitely need running. And then you can more or less go through and see if there's any programs that you recognize that you no longer use or you've never used, so that you can basically maybe stop them. And then of course disable them. The startup will allow you to again see things that you may not use as often as you would have. Okay, so you can go ahead and actually get rid of them as well. I mean, on this machine I don't really use anything to do with Apple anymore because I just use a lot of the cloud. So I subscribe to the music and it just downloads to my phone, so I don't actually need this that much anymore. So if I wanted to, I could just stop that and then disable that. Okay, and then we click on apply, and then we'll click OK. Now what it will do here, it will basically give you a message that you need to restart before these changes are taking effect. So we could do that now, or we can choose that we'll do it later. So in this demonstration, we basically saw how we can make our Windows run faster. Thank you for watching. Please kindly make sure you subscribe and like and share our videos. We will be uploading some more content very, very soon, so please keep an eye out for that. And for now, until next time, goodbye.